Alrighty, everybody, it's time to put the Z650 on the chopping block once again. What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Yammie Noob, back at it once again with another wonderful and delightful motorcycling video for you to enjoy. The title of today's video is Why the Z650 is Boring. Yes, this motorcycle is kind of boring. I've got a lot to say about why I think it's boring, what makes it boring, what makes other bikes more exciting. And I just want to preface, I want to pat you guys on the head. I know there's many Z650 owners that watch this channel, a lot of Kawasaki diehard simps that watch this channel too. And I don't want it to make it seem like I hate Kawasaki's. I've gone on record to say that if I owned a Kawasaki, it would be a ZX6. It would replace my race bike because I really love that motorcycle. I think the ZX14 is a cool bike. The H2 is a cool bike. Kawasaki makes cool bikes. The Z650, in my opinion, is probably not one of them. Now, let's swing a leg over this thing, get to riding, and understand what makes it a little bit boring, shall we? Let's go for a ride. I love that there was just some random old man that just pulled up with a Cadillac. Didn't even say anything. He was just flabbergasted by the power, by the grace, the beauty of the Z650 and yours truly on it. Okay, let's go. So I was actually thinking a lot about this motorcycle the last couple of days and why I don't love it and what makes it boring. And, you know, Josh and I were talking about this a few days ago, that a motorcycle, you know, for better or for worse, is very defined by its, guess what, motor. It's in the name, motorcycle. The engine is extremely important, you know. You can have a bike that doesn't really perform, but yet is still fun because it fits well in the application. You can have a bike that makes a ton of power and isn't great either because of the application. The engine is extremely important when it comes to a motorcycle. Now, I think that this one in particular, this parallel twin 180-degree 650-ish engine is fine. It'll do the job. It doesn't elicit any excitement out of me. I think of the Yamaha MT-07. I think of the Ducati Scrambler. I think of the SV650. I think of even the Honda, the CBR 500, excuse me, the CB650R. You know, I think of those motorcycles, and the engines in all of them are really good for different reasons, and I really enjoy them. This engine, you know, we tend to think of in motorcycling the parallel twin, the 180-degree crank, low revving. That configuration with that state of tune tends to be a little bit more boring. It's sort of like the naturally aspirated V6 of the motorcycling world. You know, everything has a naturally aspirated V6 in the car world, right? This bike, to me, now that I think about it, is sort of like a Camry with like a sport package. That's how it feels to ride to me. Now, because it's still a motorcycle, it's still on two wheels, it's still a ton of fun to ride this bike. It's not bad, and because you're still on a bike, you've got, you know, a clutch, a gearbox, a throttle, and you can lean. You can do all the normal motorcycle things that you want to do. You know, we pitch it over here in the corner, this bike settles in. You're still riding a bike. It's still awesome compared to basically anything else. But I can't help but think about other bikes I've ridden, because I have quite a bit of experience of riding different bikes. I think on Instagram the other day, I put up that I've ridden like 79 different motorcycle models, which is a good chunk. That's a good chunk of bikes, both on track, on road, off-road, all kinds of different places. So I've got a good amount of experience riding a lot of different motorcycles. And, you know, this thing to me, again, the engine characteristic, when you rev it through the gears, when you downshift it, when you do everything you need to do, it really feels like the Toyota Camry of the motorcycling world. How can we make it more interesting? Well, it's tough, because on a bike, you know, what you want to do is put on a fun exhaust and hear the engine a little bit more, but on this thing, you're not really going to get a much better sound out of it, because again, down to the engine configuration, it's not like the MT-07 where it becomes uncorked and unleashed and it really improves. So I think it might be a little bit difficult to actually make a lot of improvements to make this more fun. You could put on a stickier set of rubber on it. You could maybe, you know, try to kind of liven up the party a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's the sum of the parts here. The overall package is a little bit boring to me, which is weird because this bike's aesthetics are so loud and so aggressive. It's got this green trellis frame. It's got all these funky plastics on it. Even the brake reservoir over here is a funky little shape. So it's funny that they've made this bike to be kind of weird looking, but then the bones of it are very chill. I think one thing that I would love to do on this bike is put a wider set of bars. I think getting this out a little bit more and getting a little bit more leverage over this machine would definitely make it more fun. You could have a wider stance on it, maybe something more like over here, you know. But as it sits right now, it's a little hard to have fun with it, in my opinion. You know, this isn't a track-oriented bike, so you don't want to go super fast with it. It's basically a good commuting kind of motorcycle right now, you know. And that's why, again, I go back to the Camry argument for this thing. You know, it's got passenger accommodations, but your passenger's not going to be super comfortable. It's very similar to a Camry. It's got enough power to have fun with, kind of like a Camry. You know, you can zip around traffic as much as you need to with this thing. It's got some funky looks, which I've seen some new Toyotas that look all funky for some reason, but I know that they're just like front-wheel drive economy cars. And I really think this thing kind of fits into that mold, which is unfortunate. But I think about it now, and it would be difficult for Kawasaki to make any other engine, number one, without, you know, eating up a lot of R&D costs to build a new engine, which they've been making this 180-degree parallel twin in some variation or another for the last 20 years or so. So it'd be hard for them to do that. And number two, it'd be difficult for them to do that without looking like a bunch of copycats. If Kawasaki made a Z650 with the V-twin, people are like, oh, look at that, Kawasaki's trying to make an SV650. If they made one with a 270-degree crank, they'd be like, oh, they've given it up. They've given it up to Yamaha, so that Yamaha's making the best bike in the category. So they were kind of boxed into a corner whenever the middleweight naked category started popping off. I can't think of what Kawasaki could do to make an engine that would fit the bill to stand out, because what you have to do in this segment, since it is so crowded and there are so many different motorcycles, especially with the Trident coming out, MT-07's getting revised, the CB650R, you know, the category's really kind of dense. So they have to make a bike that's different. I get it, but it just sucks that they've been boxed into this corner where they can't really tweak with the engine much or make anything more interesting. And again, I just want to say that this is not a bad motorcycle at all. It does everything a motorcycle needs to do pretty well. It's like a 6.5 to a 7 out of 10 for me on basically all metrics when it comes to, you know, what I like in motorcycles and what I want to have in a kind of a normal naked street bike like this. It does super well. And I think Kawasaki's done an interesting thing in that they know that people who are going to buy this bike, it's either their first bike or their second bike. Maybe they've only ridden like 3 or 4 bikes total. So, you know, for that reason, it's got a good mid-range punch. You see right here, I just kind of open it up. I can get around traffic if I need to. It's not difficult to move around traffic. It makes a big honking kind of intake sound. I think if you didn't know any better, you would probably think this is really great. But this is why I tell everyone, I'm like, the Z650, the MT-07 you have at home, because if you ride an MT-07 versus a Z650, it becomes very clear that this is a very different kind of motorcycle than that, and it's just not as fun, in my opinion. You know, Yamaha's designed the MT-07 to kind of, you know, you can float second gear power wheelies on that thing, no problem. You can clutch it up in third gear if you're brave enough. So it's pretty crazy. This thing doesn't elicit the same kind of fun factor. And I don't want to make this video be like, oh man, the Z650 is not an MT-07, so it sucks ass. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I am saying is that I think Kawasaki could have somehow figured out a way to make this a more fun bike. But engineering fun into a motorcycle is tough. That's a hard ask for your engineers to go to the R&D department and be like, hey, you know, can you add fun into this thing? Because from what I understand about development of motorcycles and R&D, based on a conversation I had with a technical developer over at Suzuki, this guy that worked at Suzuki and Piaggio, Greg, if you're watching the video, big shout out. Thank you for that call we had that one time. Would love to chat again if you have time. But what I understand is engineers, they have to optimize for certain things, right? For price or for weight or for this or for that. Typically, they're given a set of constraints and then they build a bike around that. So it's not like Kawasaki just turned to their engineers and was like, hey, build a cool 650. They were like, hey, please make a 650 with this engine we already have, given this constraint, and see if you can use these parts from this other bike so we can reduce costs, we can make a better margin. That's probably what happened there. So I get it. You know, I get it from Kawasaki's angle. They were probably boxed into a corner for a variety of reasons with this bike, and they've done a good job with what they had. But man, for me, this is the bottom of the barrel for the 650 class if you're buying brand new. If you're buying a brand new bike, this is probably the simplest and and most inoffensive one you can get. I think the XC650 is the one above that. I think then CB650R probably above SV650, but the price kind of sucks. And then I think on top of that, the MT-07 is still, it's an awesome bike, man. I cannot say enough good things about the MT-07, and I'm not the only one that thinks so, all right? I just want to put that out there. I recently watched the Revzilla podcast where Zach and Ari and Spurgeon were talking about the Trident, and they started waxing poetic about the MT-07, right? I'm not the only person that thinks it's an awesome bike. It's very well beloved. It has a certain quality about it. It's an awesome ride. The Triumph Trident remains to be seen what kind of looks like there, but it looks to be a pretty awesome motorcycle as well. But yeah, the poor little Z650, man, it's just a little bit boring. It's just like the safe choice to make, you know? But if you're a diehard Cowie boy, I guess, you know, it's the one you gotta get. It's the bike you gotta get if you're a diehard Cowie boy. Like, that's not bad, you know? Big honk, but it doesn't have it. I don't know what it is. It doesn't have the je ne sais quoi. About to make so many Kawasaki boys angry with this vlog. I'm so sorry, Cowie simps. I apologize. Actually, I don't. I'm not sorry. So someone asked me one time, I think it was on Discord, if the Z650 was a bike you could keep for a long time, or if you would like kind of hold on to it for a while. And I think that's the difference for me. When I think of an MT-07 or a CB650R, those motorcycles, I can make the case for why you'd want to hold on to them for a while, why they make sense as, you know, kind of separate bikes and this and that. I really feel like the Z650 is a bit of a progression motorcycle, a step-up motorcycle, you know, kind of work your way through the ladder motorcycle. I don't think it's a bike that I would personally want to hold on to for a while, because I don't think I could have a lot of fun with it in a different way other than just like commuting around town. I guess if you wanted to keep it as a commuter vehicle, that would work, but then I don't know why you didn't just get a Versus 650, because that is the god tier commuter vehicle, right? It's a tough bike to make the case for, you know, kind of keep it for a while. But let me jump off of it really quick and just take a look at it and see if I'm being unfair to it. Let's see over here. Tiny little wheelies for you guys. Let's take a look at this motorcycle, see if we're being unfair to it. Let's take a look here. Squid life. All right, guys, let's take a look at this bike. It's a handsome little machine, you know? It's a good looking bike. I think this is a bike you could be proud to own, even if it is a little boring. I think you could have a lot of fun with this bike. I think if it's your first bike and you've never ridden one before, wow, what a bike. You're really going to enjoy this thing and really, really like it. But if you've ridden a couple bikes before, I'd maybe say skip this one. Anyways, guys, remember I'm giving this bike away for free. I think I forgot to mention that in the beginning. So click the link down below and check it out. And I'll catch you in the next one. See you later. So, I hate to break it to you, but this video is actually over. But if you hit this one right over here, you can keep watching your sweet Papa Yam doing some fun stuff. And if for nothing else, do it for Yammie-chan. Don't worry, I'll wait. I'll just wait. It's okay. Take your time.